so sussing it. So this is a blog by, I can't even see who it's by, about, don't know what that means, where is it? Let's go to the mood point, blah, blah, blah. I don't really understand that. Anyway, it's a look at the World Trade Fairs in 1851 in England. So this is somebody's beautiful illustration. I don't know if that's from 1851, but that's in itself, looking at the globe, it's got the Crystal Palace at the top, the English flag, which we now know is Heaven's Cross, Mount Meru, another video. So this has got, you know, it's sort of like a flat earth, but sort of like a globe. It's got pyramids, it's got all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I'm not going into that today. So this is a really cool blog. So it's got exhibition tickets to the southern entrance and northern. It says a lot from today, doesn't it? Season ticket of admission. Season tickets admission to the exhibition of the works of industry of all nations, 1851. Costs the public 1 shilling a day to attend. Now this was the beautiful Crystal Palace. So it says Crystal Palace washrooms are patrolled by Victorian criminals. Dippers, ladybirds and mashers are prohibited. I have no idea what they are. I could have done with my dad to ask about that. I can go back into that. So this is the beautiful Crystal Palace building, which apparently they took down piece by piece. This is glass and iron. So they took it, built it all in, I don't know what the narrative is, but a really short time. To house the very first World Trade Fair, or the World Industrial Fairs. Now these fairs have been going since 1851 in England and still go on today. They're called expos today, but they're still going. So yeah, so this was the Crystal Palace. So this is a photograph of it. I mean, look at this. It is just beautiful. So all this was apparently built in, I think it was a year it took them. I can go and look at that later. Everything. So these are all waterways as well. So apparently the narrative was this was built just to house this World Trade Fair, to show off technology. Now, where did all this come from? There was nothing before it. And all of this, a lot of it says it was just built in plaster of Paris, but we know that's a bit of bull as well. So, back to here. Look up for, there's a nice sketch, transverse section, view of the interior. That way. So this might be the mashers and the... So in the back, as we always see in a lot of photos, these are the controllers with the top hats, often with one hand tucked in as well. Can't make too much out in that drawing. So for the average 1851 public, this was overstimulating and tiring. There are whiffs of camphor, vanilla, sawdust, peppermint and people something. I don't know. Anyway, so this is a very interesting picture. So it says this is a piece of mechanism in the figure of a man, which is constructed of 7,000 pieces of steel. Most of them appear to, even steel, where are they getting steel from at this time? Most of them appear to be either springs or slides, and they are so put together and arranged as to be capable of something. Dunning's expanding figure. 7,000 still pieces of springs and slides and mechanically expanding human figure. So, I don't know, it looks to me, you know, my background's fashion. It looks to me like a mannequin that you would, makes it bigger or smaller depending how big you want your person's clothes to be. But maybe they've come from this, and maybe this was for something very different, but I don't actually know what. Here's the King's Throne from an African nation. So this is one of many of the installations from all the different countries and cult pictures. This was the first time any British English people had seen any of this. Yeah, and often there are real people in some of these as well. They were called human zoos. Yeah, look at the lush carpets and perfect people stood behind. So this is what we're told that Africa looked like. This is glass blowing, a glass blowing performance. Wondering if there was uranium. Just discovered uranium glass, which has been made, blown glass from this time up to, I think, the 1950s, 60s. So a lot of the green glass, or glass, when you shine a black light on it, it glows beautiful. Not necessarily green glass either, different colours, but it will still glow green because it's uranium. The botanical wing in the 1851 palace. Now look at all this. This is just, look at these statues. Look at all the intricate ironwork even around here to build this glass. This was found, these were not built. Look at the intricate piece of antiquitech in the middle. What was really going on with these? I mean, why? Why would you even, that looks like a yo-yo. Why would you even build this like this with that on the top? There's nobody here, look, the place is empty. This is a photograph. There's a really tall person, looks like he's holding that up with his head. Let's have a look. Oh, what's down here? More weird looking real statues. Yeah. Let you pause that if you want. Here's the inner crowds. Wow. So here are all human zoos to the side. You can see there's Greece, there's Persia, Egypt, Turkey, Greece, Turkey again. And this is what the public were given. This was the theatre, the movie of the day. There wasn't, 1851, they might have gone to the theatre, but that was it. There was no TVs, remember, none of that stuff. I don't even think newspapers just came out about now as well. And the invention of the printing press, it all happens at the same time. All at the same time, all around this mid-1800s. We're told that the spinning jenny and a lot of those sort of things came from the 1700s, but I don't even think they did. I think a lot of it just came here. There's some Roman dude, apparently, big statues. Cages, what's in the cages, Look at all these. It was massive, and look at how far back that goes. And this is just the Crystal Palace. It was more than just the Crystal Palace. All these big tapestries, and where's all this stuff from? Now what? I haven't totally looked through all of this. Never know when you might need a mass of crystallized alum. Oh my God, what is that? Aluminium, crystallized aluminium? I should look through these pictures, before I did that. I went halfway through. That's absolutely fascinating. It looks, I don't know what that is. Definitely got to look into that some more. Crystallized alum. Where's that from? Why would you put that in a trade fair show? Yeah, really got to look more into that. Oh, wow, more crystals. Look at this. So you're seeing this with me. I've not been through the whole of this. I was doing the presentation, which I'm going to add this to the presentation, I think. The mass book of rock crystals. So oh, wow, this is the invention of geology. Right here. They're showing all beautiful, beautiful crystals. So as some of you may know, crystals is also what I do. I have a little crystal business that pays my rent. And I go out fossicking here in New Zealand and absolutely love it. And have done since I was a kid. My nana, well, my great granny, which will have been around about this time, her and her husband, they mined for Whitby jet in England, and she made it into jewellery, and that was Queen Victoria's favourite, was the black Whitby jet. It's still the hardest and most sought after jet in the world. And I know because I've got some of it still. We had bags full as a kid, but my mum sold it all £6 a bag. I remember going to the auctions, £6 a bag. The massive rock crystal. So, you know, as we all know, or some of you may not know, quartz is a timekeeper. It resonates at 60 hertz. That's why it's used in quartz watches and clocks. It's used in heaps of industry, and because it resonates at 60 hertz, it has a frequency, just as all crystals do, just as we do. So I'm thinking this here thing that looks like it's had bits cut out the side, but it looks really perfect. Crystallized aluminium. Yeah, I'll look into that more. That's how I found out about the uranium glass. I was looking for uranium, I wasn't looking at glass. Wow, that is really interesting. And look, it's even got people, there's your little British people. I'm not sure where this dude's supposed to be from, his little pointy shoes. Maybe he's a Tartarian. Here we go again. Let me read that first. So, carriage department. Wow, this is just horses and carts. Fall in love with the feel of the roads. The marketing already, look. This is where transportation was headed, and these were the all-new 1851 carriages that would literally take us there. Oh my goodness. So there's the wheel at the back. Look at this. Well, I think we're told the wheel was invented by just after cavemen or some crap we were told at school, can't remember, because I didn't pay attention because I knew it was rubbish. But these are all different carriages. So, you know, these controllers have found all these carriages too. It's all been found. It was all founded. Not built, found, found dead, founded. A bench for resting. Let's have a look at this. Right, never mind the bench for resting. Look at the stained glass. Look at these. Look at all these that we find in our churches, supposedly churches, but they were about free energy as well. I bet you some of this has got uranium in it and glows. Wow, and look at them all. Why would you have all these beautiful stained glass windows in a crystal palace? Beautiful. All these rich people, poor people didn't look like this, that's for sure. Here's a First Church World Fair. I've just put this in a slideshow that I'm doing. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Mr. Wild's Model of the Earth, first exhibited at the Earth. So, Model of the Earth. I'm going to talk about this in that other. I've got it with anomalies and something that was built in New Zealand that I was looking at as well. Wild's Model of the Earth. The gigantic globe. This is the first introduction of the so-called globe. It's modelled on a scale of 10 geographical miles to an inch horizontal. 1 mile, inch, and a diameter of 60 feet, blah, 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 60 feet. That probably, actually, these numbers mean something too. 60, you know, what I've just said about quartz resonating at 60 hertz. By means of a gradual ascent at different stages of this figure of the Earth, with its mountain and valley, sea, river, may be viewed, blah, 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 moderate distance. Hang on, let's go back to that. By means of a gradual ascent at different stages, Oh, I see what they're doing. So there's a big ball and they're on this so-called scaffolding things and looking. Gradual ascent at different stages, the figure with its mountain and valley, sea, river may be viewed from a moderate distance. Maybe viewed from them, that's interesting. The objects just mentioned are represented by numberless blocks and castings in plaster, figured on the interior concave of the sphere, the fitting up of which must have been both difficult and expensive. Oh, again, they found this. Why would you build something like this as well if it's not to program people? The president of the Royal Geographical Society, there's the invention of geography, in his late address stated that Mr. Wild was good enough to show and explain to him the whole of his undertaking, with which he was both surprised and pleased on examination. I bet he was. Wow, look at this, it's fascinating. What's going on down here? There's the controllers. There's always the controllers. And look what's happening up here. What's this? The pillars. Is this 3 pillars? Is there another pillar behind there? Is there 4? Is this Mount Meru? Heaven's Cross, North Pole. Is that what's depicted here? And we can only actually see 3 of them, but another one straight behind this one. I don't know, it would be smaller. This is a really interesting picture that I'm going to study in more depth later. Okay, moving on. Ooh, pretty. That's beautiful, eh? Look at this. Which one should Poseidon? Is that with the rod and the wings? Is it eagle or is it a phoenix? Again, can't quite. There's the laurel wreath. There's just symbolism everywhere, always. So, oh, there's the owl. Is that an owl? What is that? Oh, eyes again. It's an owl. So an owl is also a representation of Mount Meru, which this probably is what is going on here. So again, this is, I really think this is what it is. So this is the Heaven's Cross, the cross with a circle around that's on all of the buildings. And what it is, this is where on our realm, this is where if the veil's going to open, the blue beam, this is where it all happens. This is where the other beings have come through back in the day. This is what's been closed off. And this is basically all this points to us and our consciousness and us being at the centre of everything. So Mount Meru and all that stuff, yeah, it's on the 3-dimensional, that's what it is. But really it's consciousness and us. So let's move on. Crystal Palace double staircase under the dome. Blimey. Even the dome, even this is a cross, look. I won't read too much into that for now. Moving on. What's happening here? Let me read that. Earlier construction of an illuminating roof. Illuminating roof. So the Crystal Palace wasn't just a crystal palace, it lit up. All of it glowed like, 1851. I don't think electricity was even supposed to have been invented. It was all gas, and they try to say that it was all lit up by gaslight. But, we know all of this really was the old world. It wasn't created in 1851. The controllers found all of this and put it all on show and said it was theirs. This is the 12 families, the 12 houses, which we'll talk about more when I talk about the flags that are around, because I think that's what they are. So what's going on here? Is that a bull? That'd be Taurus, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's some deer. Wow. Yeah, not quite sure what's going on in all of this. Very elegant. And look at all the rich people and all their beautiful clothes. Look at this big mirror thing. I am going to do more on mirrors and scrying another day, because that fascinates me. Are these rats? What are they? It was calling the world's favorite place stuffed animals in human poses as well as human skeletons playing cards or whatever. Oh my goodness. So I remember growing up with this sort of thing, though. It was everywhere in England. Oh, the cats, what are they? I don't even know what they are. Rats, a cat, something, having a cup of tea. Yeah, so that's again actually the animals and the human bodies with animal heads. I know it all sounds crazy, but it's in our past somewhere, Oh God, there's a head in the box. I was talking about that stuff earlier. So yeah, it's in our past somewhere. It was in my dreams when I was a kid. I used to have a dream about I'd left my friends and we'd moved towns, and my dream, a nightmare, recurring nightmare that I had for years, was that you chopped off a head, because I love my cats as well, and I obviously had a lot of fear, and you chop off my friend's head and a cat's head would appear, and I'd chop off that one and another animal's head would appear, and this went on for years. And then I even got tattooed on my body, not realising that was any link, but half snake, half woman and things like that. And this just kept coming to me, and again, I can do a whole video on this, but there were according to much research that I've done, it was a very real thing. There's so much artwork and in books talking about the half human, half animal. Yeah, pretty gross, but that's what it is. So moving on, the action on the eyes and mouth of a comic face is produced by Brent iron bars within the figure. So what's this? This is the original electric shock treatment. So I don't know if that's a real head, probably. Attracted either to the features above by means of armatures at there too. In addition to these novel signals, there is also something positive and negative by which not only all the letters of the alphabet are represented, but also the end of each word. And I don't know what that means. Comic electric telegraph. Very early display of magnetic electricity moved the mouth. I don't even know if that's a real head. Oh, that's not quite sure again what's going on there. I don't think I want to. The Daydreamer chair in paper mache. Oh, they're trying to say that all these things are paper mache, so they just destroyed them, which was bullshit again. A lot of these things are still standing 150, God, how many years, 170 years later. Designed expressively for the Great Exhibition by this dude, Esquire. Manufactured by whoever. Now look at this. Let's have a look. This is beautiful, and I guarantee what's happening here. Can't make that out. I guarantee this was not paper mache. This looks like the sun. It actually looks a bit like the top of a pharaoh's thing he wears on his head. Is that angels? Two sleeping angels. The Daydreamer chair. Fake furniture for aesthetic. Some 1800s home had fake furniture for aesthetic appearance. Bullshit. What's going on here? Wow. So I guarantee, I keep saying that, I reckon this will again have been something to do with free energy. Spiral plane at the Crystal Palace, and we all spirals. We walked a ball of spiral ramp. Yeah, it's a bit of fun, but there's a lot going on with spirals as well. Is a colour sketch, interior trees. It was really beautiful. I mean, trees growing up the middle. So they haven't just built this. So they actually built the whole thing around massive trees as well. Because remember, this was all done in a year on this raw iron and brickwork. Look at this. Here's a load of actual red brickwork. So this, remember, was all flung up. And they put it around trees? Really? Don't think so. Oh, and talk of this, there it is again. And we know this represents Ra, the sun god Ra. This is the two gates. This could be in reference to the gatekeepers, Janus. Look how tiny the people are. Oh my goodness. The Egyptian relics display. I can't believe how big all that is. And again, it's not supposed to be real. Wow. Don't know what all this says. It'd be good to be able to get yeah, that's not a double click. Made of 4 tons of pure crystal glass. But that's not, well, if it is somewhere, and it's water. It's not just crystal glass sculpture, it's a water fountain coming out of all these intricate little places. Look at this. Wow. This was part of the free energy. It was about water and ether. Look at this. Antiquitech. It's absolutely stunning. Wow. Crystal glass. Blimey. I wonder if that glowed with uranium as well, maybe, because it didn't have to be green. That's how I found it. I was looking up uranium to do with this stuff. That's how I found out that it was in the glass. Ah, here's some animals, look. So with the great end, the Crystal Palace was moved out of Hyde Park to a new site 4 years later with an added dinosaur display. So all of that, they moved it and added dinosaurs. these fucking things. Remember what I was saying about the weird and odd animals and the blue beam and all that? That's what all this shit is. There's no such thing as dinosaurs, not how we're told. Yes, there will have been dragons and these big scary things, but there weren't dinosaurs, and it wasn't as long ago as we're told either. Look at this, wow. I think this may be the last picture, which is just as well because the cat's scratching to get in. So, in 1864, I'll just read that. In 1864, Crystal Palace pneumatic railway air pressure tunnel was also built on the new location. Wow, we were good then, eh? So this, 1864 is only 13 years after the Crystal Palace. So in them 13 years, remember, people have only got a horse and cart. There is absolutely no power and power tools and anything. In them 13 years, they moved the whole of the Crystal Palace and everything in it. And they were all waterways, remember? And water fountains made of crystal. And this pneumatic railway for passengers at the Crystal Palace. See preceding page. Don't think I've got the preceding page, but we'll try and find that. Tunnels, mines. Look at that. That actually looks like a water wheel. It was for free energy. All these tunnels were about free energy. Station, look at this. They're all next to water. They've all got man-made waterways, every single one. And it was these were the part of the star cities, the star forts that are still all over the realm. I'm definitely going to do more videos on star forts or star cities. People have done so much, but I'll just have a little bit on my channel just so you see where my thinking is really and what's going on and why I'm doing all the other stuff and talking about the things I talk about when I'm out and about. So that's all these are really for. But like I say, if you look, I think that's it. So if you have a look on my YouTube channel, which is probably how you've got this, on the About section, it will show you who I'm thanking. And that's just in the Tartarian old ancient world recently, like the last year. Many, many, many years of research, 30 years has got me to even get to them, loving all buildings and questioning the narrative and looking at consciousness and energy and imagination and who we really are, which is not as we've been told since the reset and the programme of now started in 1851 at the English Trade Fair. Thank you very much. And big love, y'all.